on that and find out what they're talking about.
I don't think anyone would do that.
If I saw a title like that, I would click on it. And guess what? I'm not going to say it right now.
That explains a lot.
You know, we'll just leave our fan base curious. Good Lord. Oh, I'm so ready for tomorrow. I've got a big announcement to make. You know, Jarrett,
What?
I think we are likable people.
You know, I like to think that too.
Let's see here. Oh, yeah, I got to post it. Sometimes I forget that's my duty.
Yeah.
Not a duty, really. It's an honor. I'm privileged. Man of the people.
That's you.
That's me. They ask, and I giveth. Wait, what's the episode called?
What you should be streaming.
How about House of the Dragon
Well, the name's already up.
and other? Let me finish the title.
Well, the name's already up. It doesn't matter what you say.
And other things that you should be streaming.
No.
Is it too long?
It's what you should be streaming! ! House of Dragons and Ring of Power review.
Oh, that's good.
Duh.
You did a good job. You done real good. That'll do, pig. That'll do.
That'll do, pig. That'll do.
Jinkies.
All right.
Wait. I sent you a message.
You sent me a message.
Yeah. Say it.
Zoinks. Retro rig.
Yeah. That's why I said jinkies.
I get it. All right. Let's do this. We're already way past.
We are. We're off the rails. We're gone.
All right.
You ready?
Three, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Silence Your Cell Phones. My name's Kevin Shelton. I gave you my last name this week. Here as always, with my buddy, my pal, Jared Hubbard.
Yeah.
That's all you got.
Surely that's not the first time you. Well, I was trying to think. Sure, that's not the first time
something, but
no,
this week was
no. But I was gonna say, surely that's not the last time, like the first time we've heard your last name, right?
Probably not. I don't know.
I would think not.
I try not to put my federal out there. You know,
my federal's on my. I got my email out here, so it's I've never once edited it out because that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Do you ever edit out the beginning anymore?
No.
I know you did it when we started.
Nope.
And so like I've had to be wary of the things that I say pre-start of the podcast because I know you're not going to edit it.
Yeah, I just like to think it's a fun little extra for people who get here early.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun little couple minutes of content for you.
Yeah, us posting everything.
All right. So today we have a fun little episode that we're going to do about things that you guys should be watching that is streamed and available via different not social media, but mediums. Yeah. Namely House of the Dragon, a spinoff of everybody's favorite television show, Game of Thrones, which was an absolute global phenomenon and so far well received. But before we get into that, Jared.
Yeah.
What'd you get into this week?
This week there was nothing in theaters that I wanted to watch, so I stayed in. I watched House of the Dragons episode 3. I've been caught up with that weekly. I watched the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power. I watched Me Time on Netflix, and a lot of football.
Yeah.
I think probably watched some anime here or there. I know I watch MasterChef every week, but that's about it.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you had a fun week.
Yeah, what about you?
I did a lot of the same actually. House of the Dragon I was not current on, so I had to watch 3 episodes.
Nice.
Did that. I watched Me Time on Netflix. We'll go over all of this later, so I can't go into like detail about it.
Yeah.
And I had already watched the
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power already. So, other than that, I'm rewatching Psych.
Did you finish Scorpion?
I did finish Scorpion.
You got your last episode in?
Yeah, so it was actually just an atrocious way to end the show. I don't know if they just didn't get like the backing for next season, or if they just want to end it like really shitty, but that's what happened. And so I'm kind of upset about that.
I feel like that's majority of shows.
Yeah, it was like one of the worst endings. And like I saw it coming. It was just awful.
Yeah.
And I knew it was gonna be terrible.
Yeah, I just don't think finales are ever really great.
Yeah, part of it's like you obviously know that you got to say goodbye to these characters, and you've invested like a lot of your time into the story, and you want to see it end generally well for like the people that you like, and sometimes that's the case, and sometimes it's not. In this case, it was an absolute nightmare. I just hated it every second.
Well, good to know.
Yeah, so give Scorpion a watch and let it break your heart. Well, it is what it is.
So passionate. So passionate.
I gave it a chance knowing that like, it wasn't like super high quality stuff. It was something that I was just enjoying for the ride.
Yep.
And I don't know too many people that would have gone that extra mile to really put the time and effort into watching it like that. So it was a bit of a letdown, but it is what it is.
Yeah, we won't hold it against the 4 Scorpion fans that are out there, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's not very popular. Like, I don't know. Anyways, I do hope Catherine, but I will say Katharine McPhee, I think she should have some roles in other like bigger productions, maybe some movie stuff. She's very talented.
I'm sure she will.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
So we'll see.
So where do you want to kick this bad boy off? You want to start with House of Dragons, end with House of Dragons?
I'd like to end with House of Dragons mainly because it's our background, and I think we should just end on the thing that we're going to talk the most about.
Sure.
So I didn't actually watch Gray Man like I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to touch on that a little bit, you can. I know the cast in it was pretty high tier.
Yeah, so I think Gray Man was or is probably the best movie Netflix has put out for streaming so far.
Really?
Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware of what it is, it's a action movie with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans, where they're both kind of opposing assassin type characters, or hitmen. I'm gonna say assassins, synonymous, whatever. But they're essentially Ryan Gosling is a good guy trying to protect this girl that he was a bodyguard for, Chris Evans is trying to kill Ryan Gosling's character. The Russo brothers directed it. They also did
we love them.
the first Avengers movies. So they're really good. I think they know how to balance action with comedy. Like the comedy never seems forced, but there's parts of the movie where I really enjoyed kind of a quippy one-liner or something to lighten the mood, because it could get kind of dark sometimes. But it was way better than I thought it would be originally. I highly suggest it. I love Chris Evans whenever he gets to play a bad guy, because we're so used to him being Captain America and this like goody two shoes type role, that when he gets to like step out of that and be the asshole, it's and he's really good at it. Like in Knives Out, I loved him in Knives Out.
It was great.
And it's just such a role that I think he runs with, because he doesn't get to do it a lot, because he is basically just one of America's sweethearts. Like he's super lovable. Everyone likes Chris Evans. Super good guy outside of the camera.
I love stuff like this because I think people either take for granted or underappreciate truly talented actors and actresses. And I don't think you can fully appreciate the skill level and what it takes until you've seen the same actor play in two different types of roles. Because you get used to somebody playing the same role over and over, and you're like, yeah, they're really good at that role. It was a lot like Will Smith. He had this thing about playing like the funny badass guy, whatever. You see it in almost every single movie he's in. And then King Richard comes out, and you get to see the magnitude of his acting abilities. And so I love seeing actors play different types of roles, just because I think it's good for us as viewers to see how talented they really are. It takes a lot of skill that few people in this world can say that they have.
Yeah, and I think it goes a lot further with people like Chris Evans, who we were introduced to him as Captain America. He wasn't like a Benedict Cumberbatch or a Scarlett Johansson that had a large career outside of those movies and they get brought into the world. I would say the regular person only really knows Chris Evans as Captain America. And so when you actually see him act, he's so underrated. Like if people knew how good he actually was, he would be another one of those people we talked about that are just like, hey, if he's in it, I'll see it.
Well, the thing about Chris Evans is that like he's still got a career ahead of him. He's still fairly young in the acting world, right? So he's got, years and years of proving like how good he really is. So I think people will start to see it more as he does things like this and Knives Out. Like, yeah, you're always going to see him as Captain America. Like I'll always see Robert Downey Jr. and that's going to be Iron Man. And we've had the talk before about like these iconic characters. If I told you somebody else was going to play Wolverine, but Hugh Jackman, I don't know, right? We've had this conversation. It's just it's the further away they get from these iconic characters, I think the more appreciated they'll be for their actual talent.
Yeah, and I think it's just a role he enjoys doing. Like something
the bad guy role?
Well, yeah, and it's not even just the bad guy, but it's the like smart-assy character. I don't even know it's necessarily like he enjoys being the bad guy, but when he gets to like just let loose with his like douchebaggery and his like machismo type stuff that he does, especially in The Gray Man, when you see it, like he's so over the top. It's so great. Like
so with and what I wanted to ask you about it was because you said there was like some quippy like uh dialogue
Yeah,
with good action. How similar to the style of Bullet Train? Like is it
it's
a
more
similar film or
it's more action
more
than
action? Okay.
Bullet Train, but it's very similar in how the dialogue is given off. Like there's a running joke in The Gray Man that every time him and Ryan Gosling like face off against each other, like the first three times they run into each other in the movie, a grenade gets dropped. And it's just like they're in the middle of hand-to-hand combat, and then like Ryan Gosling like pulls the pin on a grenade, and then you see Chris Evans like he's not even mad. He's just like, "You're a dick," and then he has to like run away because there's a grenade about to go off, and then like the second time it happens, he's like, "Really, dude?" And it's just like those kind of moments that like break up the action
Yeah.
to where it's just like you're sitting there and it's like, okay, this is going to be a theme in the movie, like who's going to drop the grenade on who next time. And it's something that the Russo brothers do so well when they pick their actors, when they write their scenes, when they get in there and they direct and they push people how they want to get them going, is they remind us that you can have a lot of fun without losing the seriousness of your scene.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it also does something for the actors as well. It's like they seem to enjoy it more
Yeah.
when that's a part of their script, right? Um, or the screenplay. I don't know. It just seems like when the actors and actresses when they're having a really good time, like it's almost like they feed off of it and give you a better performance. I mean, I
Well,
feel like that's a lot of the case here.
it's contagious and it's
Yeah.
so easy to see. Like I always point out, The Greatest Showman is like a prime example of that, right?
Oh,
Like
facts.
when you can see Hugh Jackman and the rest of the actors, Zendaya, Zac Efron, when you can see them having fun on screen, like you have no choice but as a member of the audience to feel those same kind of emotions. Like people, like pure happiness is contagious.
Yeah.
And when people are doing what they love and they're having a blast, the audience has a blast. And when they're not having a good time, like Chris Pratt in Jurassic World
Oh,
Dominion,
yeah.
Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg in Uncharted, you can
Yeah.
tell like there's a huge difference between The Greatest Showman and Uncharted.
Yeah.
Like, their heart wasn't in it. You could tell, and I don't know why, if they just were getting like handcuffed by their script. The director wasn't giving them enough leeway. I think the Russos working with Chris Evans, like once you kind of have that rapport and relationship with between directors and actresses, you can kind of see a little more freedom, like Scorsese and DiCaprio. They've done
Right.
so many movies together that you kind of tell the scenes that he just kind of lets Leonardo like, you
Do
do
Leonardo
you.
stuff.
Yeah, you do you. I trust you. I know this is what I want in the scene, and I know you're going to give it to me. You don't necessarily have to be on book for the entire time. And I think that's when movies are at their peak.
Yeah, that partnership's getting close to 25 years now, isn't it? The
Yeah, it's
Scorsese DiCaprio
yeah.
relationship.
A couple weeks after that,
I don't know.
Martin's going to need a new lead man.
Oh, we shouldn't say that, but it's not funny.
That's true.
But yeah, no, I think it says something about like, and obviously, Russo brothers pretty well respected. But yeah, like if it's something that rubs off on the audience, I'm a child.
Yeah.
Rubs off on the audience in such a good way. And you're right, like Chris Pratt in the Jurassic World movie was just not it, right? You could just you
No.
could feel it, you could tell, obviously that's something they never say, but you can pick up on it, right?
Well, it was obvious to us, or
Yeah,
at least to me.
sure.
So they don't.
I agree wholeheartedly.
They don't have to say it. I would never expect them to say no. I wasn't
Right.
all in on the movie I was doing. I get it. Some movies are just paydays,
Oh,
and
I
they
hate
might.
getting bags of money.
Yeah, and In Entourage, they were talking, you do one for the blockbuster, one for yourself
Yeah,
type thing. So this was probably a payday, and then he can go do a movie that might be
sure.
a little more indie or
Well, it was kind of like the movie that I feel like he enjoyed. What was the movie he did for Amazon Prime or Prime Video?
Tomorrow War.
Tomorrow War. I feel like he did really well in that. It looked like something that he enjoyed doing. So it
Yeah.
might have just been one of those projects that, like you said, he got his bag and now he's going to go on to do something that he really enjoys. Um, but I guess sometimes it just be like that.
Sometimes it do just be like that. But I highly suggest The Gray Man for anyone who's needing some Netflix movies to get into. It's definitely a high tier flick.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate you going through that. Sorry I didn't get to it. We are kind of on a short week.
Yep.
We did an episode Friday, and we're coming back Wednesday because football season starts tomorrow. At
Yeah.
least for me, but I'm an NFL guy.
Yeah,
Jet, the
mine
college
started
guy.
Saturday.
Right. Well,
So
we were there in the
that-
flesh
that's true.
at Tuscaloosa, T-Town, Titletown.
Having a good old time.
Having a
55
good
to
old
nothing.
time. 55 zip. That was rough to watch.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. But we were sitting beside some really nasty Utah fans.
Utah State fans.
Utah State. Apologies to all the Utah fans out there. Yeah, Utah State fans that were, I guess they got one single solitary section in the entire 100,000 person stadium. And we sat literally next to them, like right next to them.
Yeah.
So that was a good time. We almost got in a fight. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we won't harp on that.
Yeah. No, we won't do that. So let's shift gears and let's get into Me Time, which is another Netflix film that I did get into. We both watched. And I gotta admit, it was better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it was definitely, I enjoyed it more than an 8 on Rotten Tomatoes.
You said I got an 8 on Rotten Tomatoes?
Last time I looked.
Let me see. Because I guess I'm the IMDb guy because that's just what we've always done. IMDb has this as a solid 5 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's dropped. It is a 7% on Rotten Tomatoes with a 31 audience score.
Did you say 7?
7.
Single digits out of 100?
Single digits out of 100.
That can't be right.
Well, it's got a 31 audience score, so
I mean, that's a little closer.
yeah.
Maybe people just aren't as funny as we are. You ever think about that?
I think it's just the type of humor. Like, I just think some crazy degenerate stuff is funny. And it's like stuff hit with me that probably didn't. Like the scene where he's got the mountain lion cub and he's trying to get it back and he's like, F this, and then just he hurls it. I think that's hilarious.
See, there were some things that I thought were funny that I know probably didn't hit. The spatula.
The butt spatula.
Yeah, he's just be eating ass.
Yeah, dude, and he's saying it at he's saying it at a school function, and then like they're throwing away like just the left shoes.
Yeah.
It's just like it's just funny.
Yeah, see, no, and there's definitely some funny parts that I think it's deserving of more than a 7 out of 100, right?
Yeah.
I think 5 is a little closer to the mark. I could see it hit and miss. Clearly, it's about the laughs. I think it went a little long. Comedies, to me, in general, a great comedy shouldn't last longer than about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I think that's a good, reasonable number. I think this was like an hour 50, somewhere around there.
Hour 44 is what it looks like.
Hour 44.
Yeah, same thing.
Probably a little longer than it needed to be. And part of it may be it might be Kevin Hart, because I think Kevin Hart, you see a lot of the same character in nearly everything he does, right?
Yeah.
And it's a character he's essentially played for the last decade.
since it came
So-
on the scene.
Yeah, so part of it could be that. I mean, what do you think?
I think like why people didn't like it.
Yeah, like why it wasn't as well received as maybe it should have been.
So I think Kevin Hart's kind of painted himself into a corner, right? As being like the family comedy funny.
Yeah,
And then when he does things that are a little more mature, I think people that are going in there watching like the family of five that wants to watch something on Friday night, when they see Kevin Hart and they just got done seeing DC Super Pets or The Secret Life
Sure.
of Pets or something like that, like they're expecting
yeah,
him to be this very just like
wholesome.
funny.
Yeah,
And then this movie was just not supposed to be a wholesome funny. Now, like it had a good, like be a better dad, be a better person, storyline to it, which I could appreciate. But a lot of the comedic bits that I found super funny were just not family friendly. And I think that's where I think most of the people that get on and review these things on Rotten Tomatoes probably are the Karens
yeah.
that wanted something a little different. And I don't know, it's just like the dad who snorted all the
ADD medicine.
ADD medicine from his son, and he just keeps talking about, I'm not going back to Legoland. And it's just like that stuff to me is that's funny. Like
I agree. I understand. I understand what you're saying about Kevin Hart, and I think you're right. It wasn't nearly as like. It wasn't like so raunchy either, though. Like, I'm not saying it was a family friendly whatever, but it wasn't like extremely like raunchy.
yeah,
Right.
but I mean, like, I guess if your previous knowledge of Kevin Hart is like Jumanji, let's say, and then you watch this movie and they're talking about masturbating and doing lines of drugs and going to strip clubs.
When you say it like that, it sounds raunchier than it was portrayed, though.
Yeah.
Like, it really wasn't as bad as like you would think.
Yeah, but I mean, we watched him take a crap on some dude's bed.
Yeah, but it was like a little.
Yeah, but it's funny. I think that's funny.
Well, it was funny when she said, "You got a rabbit to crap on his bed." And he's like,
He's like,
"No,
"No,
that was
that is-"
mine."
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I did appreciate though was there was some political subtleties that I thought they did very well that I don't know if you caught on to, but like essentially he was like, I have a penis. The girl's like, do I have one? He was like, no, when you get older.
Yeah, maybe one day if you want one. Yeah.
Yeah. I can appreciate the fact that it wasn't like, bam, here's my agenda. And there's a few examples. That's just the one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
But I thought they did a very good job of doing that. I know it's kind of irrelevant, but it is like in the film.
Yeah, I just think the movie had a couple one too many plots going on. Like having to introduce a loan shark probably didn't need to happen.
The loan shark is actually one of my favorite
I mean,
up and coming actors.
I love the actor.
Yeah.
He's hysterical, but I'm just saying it's just not a plot that really needed to be done, right?
No, you're right.
Like Wahlberg could have just said, "Yeah, I'm strapped for money," and that could have been that. We could have cut that out of the movie, moved on. The family drama, it was okay.
I think it was cliche.
Yeah, I just think they were trying to do too much.
Yeah.
But overall, it was funny. I really enjoyed his babysitter being a stripper.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's fun. And then the dude,
Mr. F.
He's like, and the Legoland guy at the end talking to his wife, and she's like, "Yeah, she's
the club, the coffee club,
the coffee club. She's a barista. What kind of coffee do you get at the club?"
The drip. Yes, great coffee. Great, the best coffee.
Yeah.
But no, it definitely had its moments. It was a little slow at times. So like, look, I'm not saying this movie was fantastic or phenomenal,
No.
but like, I knew what I was getting with
Yeah,
Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart in a comedy. Like, I knew what I was getting. So I don't think it was less than advertised. I don't think it was more than advertised. I think it was exactly what it was built for.
yeah, what it was
You know?
supposed to be.
Yeah, good laughs. And
Yeah.
and I had fun. I had laughs. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I laughed.
No worse than Bootyology.
I think Videology was better.
I do too. I do
But
too.
just
You know, the film knows what it is, and
yeah.
you enjoy stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, watch Me Time, Mark Wahlberg, Kevin Hart. Tell us what you think. We have socials. If you want to reach out, we will need some guests. I don't know what that was. It's like the butterfly thing. You know?
I guess.
We have socials, as I was saying. If you would like to reach out to Jarrett or myself, we'd love to hear from you. If you know us on Facebook, you can just DM us, Kevin Shelton and Jarrett Hubbard. There, I said it. Our federals are just out there now. Jarrett Social Security. No, I'm kidding. I don't know your social. We're
I know
not
you.
that.
I
We're
know you
tight,
don't.
but like, I feel like that's not.
That's
That's like
something.
that's more than Fred stuff. Like,
Yeah, that's a spouse. That's
yeah, that's
I-
spousal.
like my mom might know my dad's social.
I think my mom does know my dad's social.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah, that tracks. So I don't know his, and he doesn't know
Yeah.
mine. I know Katie's though, because we're twins.
well, yeah. You can just probably just count a number
It's-
up or a
it's
number
two-
down.
It's 2 digits off.
Okay.
Like 1 digit, but two
Yeah.
spots, 2 spaces. That's irrelevant. We, we are on Twitter. If you just look for Silence Your Cell Phones, or we are at Silence Phone. We are on the IG, the gram at Silence Your Cell Phones. If you want to type up an email and send it, you know, like it's 1978, you're free to do so. We are Silence Your Cell Phone, no S, at gmail.com. Jarrett, do you want to have input the other ones that we have that I definitely remember? But
Did you say Facebook?
yeah, I did. Well, no, I did. I said us on Facebook. I didn't say that.
Yeah, we have a Facebook
We
group
do.
or page, Silence Your Cell Phones, subcategory podcast.
Ooh,
We have a Patreon.
we do have a Patreon.
If you would like to support the channel.
Whoop, whoop.
Um,
I would love to get t-shirts. I want to
Yeah.
do that.
yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff we got to do for our Patreon that
There is.
we might be the worst Patreoners
Maybe ever.
in the history of Patreon.
Maybe ever.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
I'm going to hold that L.
It's a
Work in progress.
yeah, exactly. You took the
At, lea-
words
at
right
least
out of my mouth.
at least we're self-aware.
That's true. See, it could be worse.
We could be
in denial.
We could be delusional.
Yeah, but we're not. I think that's all of them though. I don't think we missed any.
No, that was all of them.
Yeah. So let's discuss. Let's do the Ring of Power,
Ring of Power.
Ring of Destiny, Ring of Truth and Honor, the Ring of Freedom. Nope.
No.
Ring of Power.
No.
So you caught up on Ring of Power. Tell me what you think, first of all.
Visually, it's probably the best show ever made. Like as far as the aesthetics, special effects,
Yeah.
costumes, everything about the show is gorgeous. There's some scenes that you're just like, holy shit, this is a show.
Did you get the vibes that I was telling you about? Do you remember? Do you know the scene?
I mean, not
The Valhalla scene, the one I was telling you, was very Valhalla-esque of them riding into Valhalla.
yeah, the end of the first episode when they're going
Yes.
into the elf world.
Yes.
Yeah, super gorgeous. The show itself, though, I'm still kind of feeling out. It's fine. I'm not like blown away by the content of the show necessarily. I think my biggest problem was with it starting off is there's way too many characters for I think an audience to try to keep up with. Like you have to, they're introducing all the elves, all the
Yeah.
dwarfs, all the half feet,
Harfoots. Yeah.
yeah, all the humans. Uh, there's just like way too many names and places to keep track of.
Right.
Like off the bat, like episode one is just a hurricane of names, places that are just hard to remember anyway,
Right.
because it's not like their names are Matt Smith or something. Uh,
Yeah. Their name's like Galadriel,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, but
Um,
at least Galadriel is a legacy character. I know this is a prequel to the movies, but
right.
so her and Elrond, I was at least familiar with,
Sure.
but all the other ones,
Well, they live for
yeah,
thousands of years.
forever.
So,
But I just think it would have been cool if we like the first episode only focused on the elves.
right.
Like that's all we got in episode one. Then episode two, we only got
The Harfoots and
Yeah.
then the before you said it, I didn't consider that, but there really is a pretty big initial uh crew, like people, and it's not like they're small characters either.
no,
You
they're
can tell that they have significant um that they're significant to the plot,
right.
to the story. And I don't necessarily hate it though. But I understand that it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. So I I don't know. It wasn't like off-putting for me though.
I'm not saying it was off-putting, but it's just I think it takes away from the overall quality.
Oh, Crow's in the chat. I just saw that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. What's up, Crow?
No, you're all good. Hey, Crow. But like I think when there's just like so much dialogue that's having to be shared 3 or 4 times to get a point across, that it takes away from the rest of the episode. And it's not like I'm not a Lord of the Rings expert, but it's like for myself, if I'm getting information overload, then like someone who's probably not familiar with the world at all is definitely getting information overload.
Right.
Plus, they're having to like imagine not knowing who Sauron is,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you're just getting it thrown at you.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely cater to an audience that has seen the original trilogy, that has seen The Hobbit, that's familiar with Middle Earth, this whole world that's been built. Because like you're saying, he's a big part of the story. He's a big part of this story.
He is the story.
And it's as if they just expect you to have seen the movies prior, instead of just being like a standalone spinoff, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if it's just them being like true, because it's based on the book, right? Isn't there a Rings of Power book series?
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe not then. Because I was just wondering if maybe it was because they're trying to stay true to some sort of text. But if there is no text, then yeah, it's definitely...
I don't know if I have to look up like where if the source material was like in the original books, like the Fellowship, the Two Towers, and Return of the King. If it was like just get background information given in those books that they're putting together a story off of,
right?
But they're like things that happen in the movies that make me question how this show is going to be done, right?
Yeah.
Because what's her name? Galadriel. Galadriel, yeah. So she's evil in the movies,
right?
And she tries to take the ring from Frodo on his journey to Mordor, and we're seeing in this that she like directly, like her entire mission is to defeat Sauron. So like, how did we get to
A
her
to
being
B.
A to B? And
Yeah.
I hope that's not skipped over in this series, because that's like a pretty big plot point to just ignore.
Right.
That we have a villain who used to be a hero. But I'm sure it'll get better. Episode 2 was better than episode 1.
Yeah.
Um,
She looks a lot. They look a lot alike too.
they do.
Yeah.
They do. And like I said, it's cool. I enjoyed the Elrond and the dwarves. I think the elves and the dwarves relationship in Middle Earth is always really great. It's always really funny.
Yeah.
They could probably do with, they're going to need an action piece
I agree.
pretty bad in the next episode or two.
Yeah.
Because we got it a little bit when the first orc showed up.
Yeah, I was sick, by the way.
Yeah, it was a really cool scene, but we're going to need something a little bigger than a one orc fight that was 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So
I think, and it's definitely like they're pacing themselves, right?
yeah.
And I don't know if that's just to get more content in. Obviously, a lot of the budget went into the aesthetics of the show, all the stuff they've got like animated or CGI'd, or just the actual like shots that they have that are just it's a beautiful show aesthetically. I don't disagree. Arguably one of the best looking shows I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I think the plot is developing slowly. I think they're doing it intentionally. But right now it's borderline boring.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah, it's a good looking show, sure. But like I'm not fully satisfied yet. I'm gonna give it obviously like more episodes to grow and maybe speed up. But like we need like thicker plot pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna watch the entire season. Like, it's not like I like Lord of the Rings. I'll watch the show. I don't hate the show. I think the show's a very like mid-7
Yeah.
right now. I thought the first fight in the first episode with the snow troll was pretty cool. With all
Mhm.
the when the elves were doing their cool stuff, like launching each other off their swords and being badasses. I thought that was really cool. But it'll have to pick up a little bit,
Yeah.
because I mean, too much dialogue is too much dialogue. And especially when like you're not ending on huge cliffhangers.
Right.
Like, if you get me excited in the last 5 minutes of an episode, then like, okay, cool, I'm excited for the next thing, which is something we'll talk about when we do House of Dragons.
I was just thinking that.
And Game of Thrones in general has always been really good at ending on a high note, making you antsy to get to the next week.
Yeah.
And it's just, when I watched like the first episode of Rings of Power on Saturday,
right.
and then I didn't watch the other one until today. Like,
There was no urgency. Right?
No, there was no urgency. And like, I got home last night and I was exhausted, and I was like, I'm going to watch the Rings of Power. And like, I turned it on and I was in the theme, and I was like, I actually just don't have the energy to sit through this for an hour tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Like, it was just one of those, like, I know if it's going to be a lot of dialogue, I'm either going to fall asleep because I'm exhausted, or I'm just not going to be into it.
Yeah.
So I gave it until today. And it's just one of those things. Now, I mean, I'm sure if you're a absolutely over the top huge Lord of the Rings fan, you can probably find a little more enjoyment than I did.
Yeah.
But I know it sounds like I'm being super negative about the show. I like the show.
I really like it.
I just think it's one of those that it sets itself up for these kind of critiques when you tell me you have $100 million budget.
Right.
Like,
$100 million budgets don't necessarily buy good writing, though.
Yeah, you don't. Well, they don't buy good writing, but they also set yourself up for you don't get like excuses.
Right. Yeah. You did nothing like that.
Yeah,
You know,
like
it's
when
just
you.
expectation, right? So especially something that's got this giant name attached to it,
Well,
right? There are expectations.
that and when Amazon is coming out saying like this is going to be bigger than Game of Thrones, like that that's a pedestal you set yourself.
Yeah, nobody
And
else put you there. Like you did
right,
it to yourself.
like I know you want it to be Game of Thrones, but I don't think people realize how much lightning in a bottle Game of Thrones actually is.
Yeah.
Like it is a once in a lifetime series
Yeah.
that
It'll be talked about for a long, long time.
forever. I
Yeah.
mean, House of Dragons crashed HBO Max the night it came out. Like Amazon Prime didn't crash.
Maybe Amazon Prime has a better engine. You don't know.
I just don't think it had the demand.
No, you're right. And obviously, like House of the Dragon, like the Game of Thrones is in recent memory compared to Lord of the Rings, right? So you're talking about something that just ended a couple years back versus something that ended, well, if just the TV, just the movie, like in the early 2000s, right? So it's a little different because Game of Thrones was a global phenomenon more recently.
Right.
So like, yeah, I think it's probably going to have a little better opening than Lord of the Rings. That's not to say it's going to be a better show or not be a better show. It's just to say that more people will probably tune in for House. If you had to pick one out of the two, more people now would probably tune in to House of the Dragon because they're familiar with Game of Thrones. Maybe they're not as familiar with the Lord of the Rings. Like we're 30, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I also think like what House of Dragons, and I guess we can kind of transition into that from here. I think what House of Dragons has done really well that Rings of Power did not do as well, in my opinion, is you have to make viewers care about new characters, right? So, like in Game of Thrones, we knew the Targaryens were a strong house.
Yes.
Like we had the Mad King and things like that, but I didn't. No one knows. I won't say no one, but people don't know as much about Daemon and Rhaenyra and all these new characters. But with them doing that whole intro scene about how the new head of the Targaryens was picked, like the vote, and then they make Rhaenyra this really strong-headed, very Daenerys type
Yeah.
female lead. We have a king who's actually pretty likable in the grand scheme of how rulers usually are in Game of Thrones. Especially like what we expect the Targaryens to be. And then you're like, okay, but there's got to be like the dude. There has to be the guy that people are like, I want more of him on the screen all the time.
Right.
Here comes Matt Smith and Daemon Targaryen,
Yep.
who steals the show every time he is on screen.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about Daemon is that, and I don't like Daemon, right?
Right, and you shouldn't because he's an asshole.
That's how he's built. They want you to not like him, and they do such a good job of making you either like or dislike a character. It makes you want more. Like you just want more. Like Joffrey. Oh, I hated Joffrey. Everybody hated Joffrey. But he was on screen so often, and they just did such a good job of making you hate this guy, right? And it's something they do well with all their characters. You love Ned Stark, right? Everybody loved Ned Stark, the honorable Stark, and well, they often later. But like the thing is they just make you love or hate characters.
Well, here's the beautiful thing about Daemon, and I can appreciate the writing so much is he's a dick, right? But then we get to talk about like the line of succession, and he's like, I'm really the only male heir in our bloodline.
Right.
It should be mine. And then you're like, okay, I mean, I don't make the rules. Yeah, I don't make the rules. But he's got a point.
Yeah.
And then he gets essentially banished out to the Dragonstone.
Dragonstones,
Yeah. And you're kind of like, okay, well, like, yeah, he's a douche, but they kind of just pick on him, right? Like the Hand of the King doesn't like him, so he's not going to get any help from the council.
Well, it
And
seems, but hold on though, is because it seems justified.
well, it does.
Because I don't hate the Hand of the King, right? Because it seems to me like, well, serving up his daughter, that was kind of an oddball.
It was a move,
but
it was a power move.
It was a power move.
Look,
But his disdain for Damon seems justified. After Damon's whole gold cloak performance of him being on the wall, to me it seemed like he wasn't suited for any position on the council, much less the city watch. Because now you're just putting him in a position of power.
Look, I get it, but Hightower gives off Littlefinger vibes to me.
Yes.
Like he gives off very like we like him now, but he's going to do some
shiesty, the spider.
Yeah, like he's going to
like
do. There's going to be some shiesty stuff happen.
Yeah.
6 or 7 episodes into this, and Daemon goes to war. He's not getting any support from the king, except from the Valerians, who also aren't getting. Look, Crow.
What happens?
What happens?
That toast to the king's Thank you, Crow. He gets it, dude.
What happens in brothel orgies stays in brothel orgies.
He was just trying to keep his men's morale up. he rented out a brothel for his troops, for the city watchmen.
Yeah, and they were loyal.
What a king!
But anyway, to backtrack just a little bit,
what did you think of the scene where Gandalf and Sauron kiss?
Yeah, I mean, you don't simply walk into Mordor.
What's up, Invictus?
But introducing characters like Rhaenyra, Daemon is something the Rings of Power hasn't done, and like there are such huge fans of the OG Fellowship, right?
Right.
The Aragorns, the Gimlis, the Legolases, and they have not given us a character on that level to cheer for yet. Like I'm impartial toward pretty much every character in Ring of Power.
It's like they made Galadriel the main character of the show, and she's like not likable.
Yeah, and I just don't
at all.
Even her character in the show is not that likable.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So it's just like
this supposed to be like young, untarnished Galadriel, and you're trying to get background into her story, and you just don't like her.
Yeah, and then they introduced I think the person they were trying to make like the pseudo Legolas was the elf that who falls in love with the human.
Yeah,
I don't remember his name.
I do like him though. I know who you're talking about.
I like him, but he's like stale.
Well, I think he's it's Arondir is his name in the show.
Yeah. So sorry, I can't remember that one.
Well, yeah, no, I'm reading it on IMDb. It's not even a thing. I think that's as a soldier that's been stationed for like a couple hundred years. I don't know. I don't expect him to have much of a personality.
Right.
I think you're going to see character growth with him, and I think they're setting up for that.
Right.
So I can appreciate that.
And I'm not saying that the character, the way he acts, it makes sense, right?
Okay.
But it's not a character that I am going to root for.
Oh, sure.
Like if he were to die in episode 3, okay. I'm just there's not a character introduced that.
Did you read this comment from Invictus? Yeah.
Well, they probably didn't have a lot of fiber.
Oh, I don't know. They found a way to live hundreds of years, so I'm sure they're fine.
That's true. They probably have great bowel movements.
Yeah. They're regular every
Yeah.
4.5 months.
Yeah. So it's like I'm way more invested in every character in House of Dragons than I am in anybody in Rings of Power.
I I
Like
can
I
appreciate that.
and
Like
like I guess it's because there are characters I know that I don't have to worry about. Like Elrond makes it.
yeah, no, he absolutely does. I love the scene with him and the dwarves. Like their interactions were awesome.
Yeah.
And they become wholesome, which obviously there's like friction between the elves and the dwarves historically. That's kind of
Yeah.
a thing. But I love that he's got a relationship with the dwarven prince.
Yeah.
And and there was like a little hostility, right? Because he elves lifespans are different than dwarves lifespans.
No.
So like to him, he's been gone for like 20 years, but like to Elrond, that's
A day.
it's just yeah, it's like a snap of
Yeah.
the finger, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I
Okay.
got that.
So Invictus. Is that okay? So it's I was very I was very confused by this too. That's not Gandalf, is it?
Yeah, I don't know.
I
I
mean,
don't. He's listed as stranger in the IMDb,
okay, but because I thought it was Gandalf.
so I'm not sure. I actually thought it was Sauron. I don't know.
Huh,
I thought maybe they brought him back.
I don't know. That'd be
It,
weird.
it would be, but it would also
But
it,
he's
would-
not
it would
evil
it
enough.
would develop the. Well, he's basically a child. He's an infant. You know, he
Yeah.
doesn't know like he doesn't know if he's good or bad. Like nobody knows if he's good or bad yet.
Nah.
All you know is that he has magical powers.
The only thing I'm like interested in as of the last episode is that chick's son has the blade, the ghost blade thing. That
Yeah.
the
I think
people
that play
do it.
would be Sauron scary music. It'll probably turn out to be Gandalf. It could be.
Yeah.
I wouldn't hate that. I just want him to progress the plot quicker. That's the only thing with um the Ring of Power. So at least I don't know. I did like the show. I know it seems like we're being critical. It was a great show and it's very beautiful. I want it to develop a little,
Yeah. The
little faster.
the sea monster was cool.
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely neat. Shot very well.
Mm.
That scene of them like going into whatever elven like heaven, to me was absolutely stunning. I loved it.
It was gorgeous.
But yeah, so let's get back on track,
Yeah.
Invictus. See what you're doing to me? No, I'm kidding. Is that our Studolf pal?
No, I think that's
No?
Jay.
Oh, nice. New mystery every show. What? The guy on the boat.
Yeah, the one with Galadriel,
Yeah,
whatever the fucking name is.
yeah.
I'll get it right eventually.
So House of the Dragon, to go back to our initial point, was I understand why I was a little better received. Because it seems to be more a little closer to our minds, our memories than Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I think they also, and Ring of Power hasn't had a third episode, so I'll give them this. I think House of Dragons was semi falling into the same trap the first two episodes the Rings of Power were doing, where it was a lot of dialogue, not a lot of action or higher paced things.
Yeah.
And I think episode 3 changed all of that. We saw, I mean, Damon had one line the entire show and stole the entire episode.
Yeah. Yeah, Damon's a good character. I'm looking forward to seeing that play out with the problem that I've gotten is that I can tell he's conflicted because of what's her name?
Rhaenyra?
Rhaenyra. See, I'm just gonna butcher it every time. Rhaenyra. Like they obviously had a relationship. they seem to be fairly close at the beginning. Like he gave her a necklace, like they met in secret. And so when she confronted him with the dragon egg thing, you could tell he was like not pleased at having to give it back. Like he did, but begrudgingly, right?
Yeah.
So that dynamic is going to be really cool to play out further. The thing that I like most about this whole aspect is that they're giving me a story that was talked about as like you said earlier, like a legend
Hmm.
in Game of Thrones. I think it's really cool to get that insight. And so later when I go rewatch Game of Thrones, I'll know exactly what they're talking about. And I hope it connects like that. I really do.
Yeah, and I'm sure. Well, that's why we're getting these time jumps
Yeah.
that we're getting. I mean, obviously between episode 2 and episode 3, there's at least a 2-year jump
2 years,
because
2.5, I
it's
think.
yeah, it's the second name day
Yeah.
of her little
Egg,
brother
Egan.
Aegon the second or
Yeah.
whatever. Um, I think they do a really great job of like showing the importance of everyone's like what's important to every character, right? I think why Damon and Rhaenyra get along so well is because like at his core, as douchebaggy as he is, Damon is a loyal Targaryen.
Yeah.
Like his family comes number one. When we got a really good scene in episode 1 when Rhaenyra's mom dies, they're speaking in the Targaryen tongue, and he's talking about you have to be there for your father. He needs you the most now, and I think he loves his brother.
Yeah.
I think he made a very
I think that's old Valyrian, their
yeah, so
language.
old Valyrian. He made a very tasteless, probably out of anger joke at the brothel that night, and I think he understood where his brother was coming from
Yeah.
when he was exiled. Like he was frustrated, but he didn't honestly fight back very
No,
much about being banished. Like you could kind of tell, like, yeah,
yeah, but you don't know if it's because like he felt threatened by the four guards, right? Like part of that was to me, he wanted to act at the time. Um,
I didn't get that. I think he got because Damon doesn't strike me as a character that's afraid of anybody,
sure.
right? Like
Yeah, obviously.
he didn't really step down until Rhaenyra showed up with another dragon, and I don't think that was out of fear. I think that was out of love for Rhaenyra. Like if Rhaenyra hadn't showed up, he was probably going to scorch everyone on that
Yeah.
walkway. Like
Yeah.
hands down, blood would be shed. He doesn't care.
Well, it seems more than familial though. Like they have an actual relationship,
Yeah,
and I think and the funny thing is that this last episode, for most of it, she was in a very similar position. Because Egan had just turned 2, and the possibility was there for him to become the actual heir, right?
well that
The
was
firstborn male son heir
yeah
to
that
the
was the
throne.
whole talk of the episode. Like she just thought she was going to get just married off and sent to Casterly Rock to be a Lannister's wife.
Right.
Like she was
Thank
just going to
God
be
that didn't happen.
yeah that she was just going to be disposed of. And I think that's probably where her and Damon's relationship kind of spawns from because they're both understand that they have a claim to the throne,
Right.
but none of them will ever get picked if he ever has
A son.
a first son. And then like he gets skipped over for Rhaenyra, which has never happened before.
Right.
So the first woman to take over the throne, and then he's probably like, dude, there's like
Yeah. The thing and I'm gonna bring it up because I really hate the position that she is in. Allison, her best friend as a teen,
yeah,
the who became her like stepmom essentially, who
yeah.
bore the son. I actually feel really bad for her. I feel like she was pushed into this position by her father, probably against her will at first. Like she was very uncomfortable with the situation. Obviously, there's a huge age difference there between her and the king, who had just lost his wife and an infant son. Um, and now she's in this position where her best friend is the heir, but she's given birth to the king's son, and her
Yeah.
son, who has his own claim based on law, right? And I feel like she's just been put in this awful position.
Well, now
And I don't want to see it like ruin her. I think she's a great character.
now she becomes a pawn because now she's got everyone.
Well, she's been a
whispering.
pawn.
Well, right, but now it's like now she's getting whispered to her like, yeah, your son has a claim, and that's what you
Right.
should tell. You should be talking to your king that his firstborn son has the claim, and everyone's telling her that because
Yeah.
it gets them back on track with not having a female ruler, and status quo stays the same, and they can continue life as normal.
So here's the problem, though, because the king right now, to me, it seems, is he like a leper? Is there like an infection? I see him cutting himself on the Iron Throne.
He's sick. I don't know if it's leprosy, or I mean that's probably a pretty good analogy for it. I mean, it's very similar to something like he's got like the boils and stuff on
Yeah,
his
they're
back.
saying it won't heal.
Yeah, and infection. So his days are numbered.
Right.
And so this is my theory of what's going to happen is that he's either on his deathbed, he's going to change the will or the right over to Aegon and piss off Rhaenyra,
Yeah.
or he's going to die and they're going to forge something that says Rhaenyra is no longer the heir to the throne.
Yeah.
By my last decree, it'll be Aegon, which is going to start some shit too.
Well, yeah, that's what you would expect from a Game of Thrones show.
Yeah.
Because we've seen them do not so great things when somebody's on their deathbed or after they've died. Right.
And I agree, Crow. The Iron Throne in this show is so much better.
Yeah, it's actually sick.
There's like a billion more swords.
Yeah, and then the swords like sprawled out also, makes it look
it's way
insanely
cooler.
terrifying.
It's way more threatening.
I agree.
But yeah, so we have to have either way. I think Daemon makes a move. I think as soon as it becomes not Rhaenyra, Daemon pushes for the throne.
Daemon essentially was going to give his life out of spite. Like he was going to win that war without the help of his brother. Like be damned. Like he was either going to die right there and lose, or they were going to win. And
well,
he
literally
might die.
He literally beat the shit out of the
Yeah.
The messenger.
They didn't show it, but the messenger. Yeah.
The messenger that said, "Hey, we're sending help." That pissed him off. He was like, because he was very particular about not asking for help.
Yeah,
he would never, because even the king makes that joke.
Yeah,
that Rhaenyra's like, he
would rather die.
Yeah, did Uncle Daemon call for help? And he was like, he would rather die. And so this was like, I'm going to do this because I think you need my saving, and that's like pissing in Daemon's Cheerios.
Like he's already like fighting this really long war, and he's like really not happy about the situation. They just can't seem to put it away, and they're actually losing. But they came up with a good plan, and it was executed well.
It was a well executed plan, and I think what's going to happen now is all the Valerians that were pissed off, and like the ones that didn't want to be in that war to begin with, or the ones that had some doubts about Daemon. There's going to be a major power shift where Daemon starts getting a ton of support.
Here's what I think. I think the 2,000 men that are on their way to help, I think they die.
Oh, you think he just slaughters them?
I think Daemon slaughters them.
He does have a dragon.
And a god complex, seems.
That's true.
So, not him having power isn't justified.
Am I the only one bothered by the king's wig, like in every scene?
Is that a wig?
I guess so.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Crow, if I can't unsee that, I'm gonna be pissed.
I think it's on purpose though. Like I think the king's supposed to look disheveled, kind of like on his last leg type of thing. Where
Yeah, he's-
Rhaenyra, while Rhaenyra is like still the princess and keeps herself very to the T.
Yeah.
Because I think she also understands. She's way smarter than we give her credit for. Like she's a badass for one, and she understands military power, which is scary. But she
Wait,
also
who are you talking about?
Rhaenyra.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she like knows when force is necessary, but she also understands like a princess's place.
Yeah, as much as she hates it.
Yeah. But I also
Um,
think her and her knight are gonna
Oh yeah, they're definitely gonna do that.
yeah,
That's gonna happen.
which probably won't be popular because it's not a power move.
Yeah, and he also gave Damon the business.
He's
too.
a badass, dude.
Woo!
I like him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that.
I like
guy.
him a lot. He did beat the
He was like
shit out of-
yield.
yeah, and then
I
what
love
he
it.
like Damon said something smart to him. He's like, I think as I remember, you were the one looking up to me. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, because he was like, have I seen you before, or where do I recognize you? And said something about him not maybe he'd recognize him if he was laying down on his back or something. Like it was definitely a little stab.
Yeah, and I like that.
I can't stop looking at his hair, dude. Crow, I'm sorry, man. That sounds awful. I didn't even notice. I just assumed that the silver hair is part of the show.
Well, I'm just gonna
The
assume,
character.
you know, Crow, if you're lucky, you probably only have like an episode or two left before he's gone. So,
Before the time jump.
yeah, and he dies.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna have to happen eventually.
That's what happened to Robert Baratheon. You know, you gotta die in order for there to be a Game of Thrones.
Robert was the best king.
Robert would have been one of the worst kings, though.
No, that's not true.
Yeah, I know it's true. Like on the whole, their kingdom was like broke.
No, the kingdom was at peace when Robert was there.
Yeah, they were at peace, but they were poor. They owed the bank like their kingdom. He was in Tywin Lannister's debt,
Oh yeah.
like a lot.
Oh yeah.
So he drank and partied.
And
I
that's all you need.
don't think he's a good king. He might have been more fun. Like he didn't murder everybody like Joffrey. You know, Stannis probably would have been a good king.
No, did Stannis killed his own?
If it wasn't for the Red Witch, bro, I think.
But she
Stannis
was a major
Baratheon
part
is
of Stannis' thing.
is a good king. Ned Stark would have been the best king. Let's be
Well,
honest.
100% Ned Stark. Any of the Starks would have been good kings.
Facts.
Rob would have been great.
John
John would have been great.
would have been phenomenal.
I mean, we got Bran, and he's kind of just like there.
yeah.
He's impartial to everything.
Well, Bran is like not a human, essentially. He's like not really a Stark.
What do you mean he's not really a Stark? He's more of a Stark than John.
Well, yeah, he obviously but after his whole thing,
Yeah, once he became like
the
the three-eyed raven.
yeah, dude, it was just weird.
Yeah, but who else would you want to lead your kingdom than someone with fucking superpowers?
I mean, it's dope. Like, don't get me wrong. And he's like kind of like what's the one that's like not all powerful but all knowing? Omnipotent. Omniscient.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's good, right?
He also just doesn't have any loyalties, which I think is also good.
That is good.
Like he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the North. He doesn't care about like he's seen some shit, literally.
Yeah.
And he's got bigger things to deal with than the Iron Throne. Like that's just a seat.
Robb Stark, best king? Oh,
Fact, dude. Robb Stark would have been the best king.
I disagree wholeheartedly.
He would have been better than Robb Stark.
Ned Stark. I just said Ned Stark would have been the best king.
No, Ned's too honorable to be king.
That's what you want from a king. You want an honorable
No,
king.
you have to be able to play the game a little bit.
No, but
Ned,
that's not what you want. Like you need those things, but that's not what you want. Like you
But
don't want that to happen.
Ned would have been taken advantage of,
I think he was definitely
which is how
strong
he
enough.
died in the
I think
first
that's
place.
no. He wasn't taken advantage of. He was lied to, right? Like he did the honorable thing and it killed him. So I don't think he was taken advantage of. I think he was in a position that was fairly undesirable.
No,
That was
yeah.
ruthless enough.
What wasn't ruthless enough?
Oh, wasn't ruthless. Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
I think he did everything he could.
And he died for it.
He did.
If he would have been a little more cunning, a little more ruthless, he would have survived.
But that's not you. But you shouldn't expect to have to play those games
As a
right?
king, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin,
No.
yes.
I'm saying, if in an ideal world.
But the world's not ideal. You have to go off the
But what I'm
world they're
saying is
living
the
in.
best king, like the best king, where you can take out the pot. You're just basing it off somebody's moral character, their moral compass, whatever you want to say. Ned Stark was the guy. He was hands down the best option. And we got off on a tangent. We're off the tracks.
Yeah, because me and Crow are on the same wavelength.
Unbelievable. You think you know a guy. You think you know a guy. So if you haven't watched House of the Dragon, watch it. It's really, really good.
It is really good. It's
and I think it's also a very like pretty show. So you can tell they had a nice budget. So give it a shot. Watch it. Let us know what you think. Did we have other stuff?
no. I know I posed the question to you last week, and I feel like we've already kind of answered it. But like
Yeah, give it to me.
two episodes in, I guess 3 episodes for House of Dragons, Rings of Power. Which one are you feeling more?
I'm House of the Dragon, man. I'm looking at it as impartially as I can, because I did watch Game of Thrones very recently.
Mhm.
But just on a strictly these two shows perspective, I think House of the Dragon has the clear edge, just because the direction seems to be a little more pointed. The plot seems to be developing at a little bit quicker pace. I will say that the Ring of Power is a aesthetically more pleasing show than House of the Dragon. But overall, yeah, it's House of the Dragon for me. You?
Same. Like I enjoy the characters way more in House of the Dragon. I'm invested in them living and dying, their well-being. Just to answer this, Crow, what was season 3? Was that when Ned died, or was that season 1?
Season
It's
one. The end of season one was when
Yeah.
Ned
So
died.
so what was season 3?
The Red Wedding,
The Red Wedding.
I
God
believe.
damn.
That was gruesome, dog.
That's probably one of the greatest episodes of TV history.
Yeah, man. I was not ready for that at all.
And look, this is probably where our wavelength severs, Crow. I don't think season 7 and 8 were that awful. I think 8 was rushed, and I'll give you that. But I don't think it was as bad as people think it actually is. I think if you rewatch it from start to finish without taking a year pause between 7 and 8, 8's actually not as bad as you think it is.
I can testify to that because I didn't have to take a year pause when I watched the ending. I actually thought they were pretty well done. Probably could have lasted another episode or two. I think we talked about pacing there.
I think 3 episodes more.
Yeah. I think it would have been just right.
Yeah.
But they did speed it up a little bit, sure. And I don't hate the Daenerys. I didn't hate the way she
was always psycho.
Yeah, she was never not like power trippy, right? Like
well, yeah,
she wanted you to think it was about her being this like good and righteous person freeing slaves, but she did things along the way that if you look back, if you know the ending and then you look back at her beginning, the things start to make sense a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't just like excuse genocide because of the people you're murdering.
Yeah.
Like it's still genocide. Like, yeah, the slavers at Slaver Bay were not good people. And like, was I upset that they died? No. But like for everyone to be like, it's so out of Daenerys' character to burn down a town. Like, no, it's not.
Is it like
She's literally done that to everyone she has disliked. The Dothraki,
yeah, it didn't matter.
Yeah, like anyone who has opposed her or gotten on her bad side, she has burnt to the ground. It's just this time it was innocent people, and then everyone just now wakes up to the fact that, like, oh, she's actually kind of been on a psycho power trip for 6 seasons.
Yeah. So I wasn't really surprised. But I will say I thoroughly enjoyed the ending of episode 3. I thought it was awesome.
Oh yeah.
So episode 3, I thought the ending was great.
I love like it's one of
Like-
those like I'm not afraid to admit it. I love Damon.
Sure.
Like,
I get
I mean,
it. And I understand
he's-
why you love him. I do.
Like he was a
But you understand why I hate him.
oh yeah, and he like I hate him for his political game because he's a douche, and I
Yeah.
get that. But like, he probably has one of the most badass just moments in Game of Thrones history.
Already.
Yeah,
Sure.
and like they just cemented him as like being a major player. Like, it's, like when he talks about it, he is about it. I mean, he literally didn't say a word, just got in a boat and just went out there.
I remember very early on in Game of Thrones, I disliked somebody
Jamie.
as much as I dislike Damon and Jamie, and part of me hopes that he can develop as a character, because part of the issue that I have, like, I don't like him. I don't know that he can develop. I don't know.
I
He
don't
doesn't
think
strike me as the type of character that's going to grow, that you're going to see the character development.
I don't want him to develop like Jamie because that's saying that there's another big bad. Like I would be perfectly okay with if this entire like House of Dragons, however many seasons we get, if he is the titular big bad that like we sometimes feel sorry for when he interacts with Rhaenyra because he does love his family, but he has to do what's best for him because no one else is going to do anything to help him, and he's just going to die on the Dragonstones if he doesn't make his moves. And so I would be okay with him being the guy that we all love to hate, instead of in the original where like Cersei was the big bad, and we got this Jamie progression story, like when he loses his arm and he has to go through the turmoil, and we actually see that Jamie's always been a good guy. Like in his heart of hearts, he's a good person that puts his family above all else. That was the Jamie Lannister story. And when it was taken away from him, he did everything to still keep the Lannister family intact.
Yeah.
When everybody else was just determined to dump on it. And so I would be okay with Daemon being the Cersei. Maybe not to the extent of hating Cersei, but if it is a back and forth power struggle between Daemon and other people, I would be okay with the show.
Okay. I respect that. I can see it. I think we should probably stop there though
Yeah.
and call it. So yeah, like look, all these things that Netflix and Amazon and HBO are coming out with are definite. Like you should be watching them. The quality is really, really good, especially with, like I said, House of the Dragon and Rings of Power. And you're starting to see it more. I thought what's the show on Amazon Prime? The Boys.
The Boys.
Also, I think really good quality.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on your genre of choice, it might be for you, might not be, but it looks good. The acting's good. I think you're starting to see a pretty sharp incline in quality for streaming movies and television shows.
Yeah, I had to have the talk about The Boys with my parents like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like, we were on Amazon looking for something to find, and there was this thing called The Boys. Do you know anything about it? And I was like, I'm going to be real. Mom, she was on the phone. I was like, Mom, that is not a show you're going to enjoy.
Mama Kim
Like it is.
should not watch that. She is an angel.
Yeah,
She doesn't need to watch that
and
stuff.
I was like, it is full of some degenerate debauchery, and
Yeah.
you would just, I know in your heart of hearts that you would understand it's a TV show, but it's not something you are going to want to watch.
Yeah. She's just too good for that.
Yeah,
Let's just call it what it
she's
is.
too pure for it, and I didn't even want her eyes to even have to suffer for a minute.
Yeah, because that first scene where he just runs through.
Run straight through her. But I mean, and then it's just like, I mean, it's everything. It's the gills with the deep, and then there's just like there's just like there's just like sexual assault rampant in that show, and like Homelander literally just lets an airplane crash.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ever want my
Not
mom to
great.
have to watch the weird milk scenes with Homelander either. There's just like a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point.
She doesn't need to know exists in the world.
Steer away from that.
I also don't want her to know that that's what I enjoy watching.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I think there's just a lot of really good stuff getting put out there, and it's really exciting because it's readily available. You don't have to like go to a theater if that's not your vibe. You can just stay at home, and usually the time is 45 minutes, an hour. Like everybody can do that at night over dinner, whatever. So yeah, I just really like the direction it's going. That's pretty much it for me.
Yeah. As far as what you have to look forward to this week,
Yeah.
Friday, mark your calendars. We have another big streaming release.
Ooh.
On topic. Season 5, Cobra Kai.
Yes.
I will watch it all in one sitting.
He will do that. Which is probably why we're not recording Friday.
Well, I like having my Fridays.
Fair enough.
Because like when a movie comes out, I can still go see it and I have to worry about doing an episode.
Yeah.
Especially if I've got to work on Saturday, because these two tend to run a little later when we start recording at 9, or we say 9 and we start at 9:45. But yeah, Cobra Kai, I don't think there's any movies. I saw Avatar's getting re-released on the 23rd this month.
It looks like a movie called Medieval is coming out on September 9th. I don't know that I've seen an actual trailer.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of trailers, there was a couple good Netflix movie trailers that came out this week.
Yeah.
All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, nice.
Looks fantastic. It's a really good book.
Oh, I hope they did it right.
And then there's a movie with Mila Kunis coming out called The Luckiest Girl Alive.
It doesn't matter what it is. I'll watch it.
Yeah, I kind of figured. And then that was it for the week. Medieval has been Foster, so I might go see it at some point. Let me see what Rotten Tomatoes is giving it.
I'll have to see the trailer first.
All right, it's got a 40 on Rotten Tomatoes. Okay.
We can probably skip that one.
Yeah.
I'll
still watch the trailer. I found some movies that Rotten Tomatoes didn't like that I enjoyed. But besides all of that, thank you guys for joining us on this Wednesday. Probably be prepared for this to be the day until at least football season's over with and we get our schedules back. But until then, you have, what is it, 6 months, 8 months?
8 months of what?
Football.
Oh, football season?
Yeah.
It's 18 weeks.
6 months, yeah.
So 18 weeks is not 6 months.
Yeah, but you have all of September. So September, October, November, December, January, February.
Yeah, Super Bowl is usually in January, though.
No, it's like the first
week. That's right.
It's the first week in February.
Yep, you're right.
So you're not all of February. We'll call it a little less than 5 months.
Yeah, but I'm just I'm a NFL guy, so I'm just going to be Thursday night, Sunday, Monday night. I'm going to be busy.
I respect that.
Yeah, so probably not going to watch I'll do what I can. No promises. But sorry, I got like 5 fantasy football leagues. Like I do Daily Fantasy Sports. I'm just a big NFL guy. That's just
Yeah.
what I do.
I respect it.
And Jarrett knew that when he got into this relationship. So
I mean, we made it through last season just fine.
yeah.
But until next week, guys, enjoy everything you watch. Let us know what you're watching and sing.
Sweet. Good episode. I feel like that was long.